So we are going to speak about the 215 children, the graves that were found. Let's go to the article in The Guardian. All right. So we're going to start with a couple articles, right? And then we'll watch a little bit of video. We have some videos of commentary and stuff like that, all right, as we bring things out. So Canada remains of 215 children found at indigenous residential school site. Now, mind you, it's a big deal now because, again, the way news travels and everything, but this is not uncommon at all these Indian schools. And there were thousands of them. When we did the segment on it a few years back, we went over that. There were thousands, all right, of these schools, okay?
Cap, it wasn't only uncommon in these schools. It was not uncommon in the Catholic Church.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because the second article we're going to read talks about how now some people are demanding an apology from the Pope, because guess who ran these Indian schools that we're going to talk about?
And yet it's
the
still
Catholic
obscure.
Church.
Hey, some of you older folks remember the scandal in the 70s with the nuns. The nuns getting pregnant by priests and other men, and they were burying these babies into walls.
Yep.
The hell is this?
This was in the 70s.
Yep.
The Catholic Church.
They're saying that's the thing. Gosh, again, I had so much information, was all over the place today. Part of the reason that some of these children, because so you would say, well, what's the deal? It's a mass grave. It's that they were killing some of these kids because the priests were getting them pregnant.
Yep.
And they were killing them. They were killing them for different reasons so that they wouldn't tell on them. So if the priests were dealing with the boys with that sodomy spirit, they would kill them. If they were dealing with the young girls, and it was our people, the tribe of Gad,
Right.
if they were dealing with the young girls, they would kill them. Same with the nuns and all that stuff.
Right.
Because listen, don't think that the nuns wasn't getting down like that. All right? Obviously, there's always a different connotation when it's a man involved. But the nuns was rolling with this stuff too. All right. So it says Canada, remains of 215 children found at indigenous residential school site. Officials make grim discovery near Kamloops, British Columbia. First Nation chief says causes and timings of deaths not known. And there's a little sign here. Can we blow that up a little? That's a picture of the outside of the school, and it says Kamloops Indian Residential School. And Indian is a derogatory term, right? This is why we say indigenous, or the term Native Americans, even though that's not even accurate because they are native, but it's not American. The school was built in 1890, then rebuilt in 1923 due to a fire, and remained open until 1977. So this is recent. This is recent stuff. And mind you, that's this particular school. There are other schools. I think some of the last schools, Indian schools, closed in the mid to late 90s. In the 1920s, Native children aged 4 to 15 years were forcibly taken and prohibited from seeing their families, practicing their languages, cultures, and traditions. We're going to talk about that scripturally. There's a bunch of scriptures that pop into my head with that. But they were forcibly taken. I cannot emphasize that enough. And if you know, you know. We're talking about Deuteronomy 28 with the curses of the children being taken, all right? Prohibited from seeing their families and practicing their languages, cultures, and traditions. First Maccabees 1. We're going to talk about that, all right? This all falls under that. Children attending Kamloops Indian Residential School experienced extreme isolation and segregation. And what that little sign up there doesn't tell you, the rape, the abuse, the sexual lewdness, all that stuff, and the murders. Those kids were murdered in those. That's what makes it so atrocious in those graves. It's not like they were dying and they just threw them in a pit. It's not like there was some disrespect to the corpse. And here's the other thing. They're unknown. Their names are not anywhere. There's no records of them. You want to talk about crafty counsel against thy hidden ones.
Yeah.
It's like it's unmarked graves. And since they were forcibly taken from their parents and their Indian names were taken from them, their indigenous names, they were given other names, and so they died in total isolation from their culture. Now, we understand that culture was not fully the culture of the Bible. We know that Gad and some of their traditions sociologically, the studies that they done on them are Hebrew tribe traditions, and their origins are from there. But at this point, when they were being taken here, a lot of that stuff was long forgotten already, and they were on with Mother Earth or Mother Sky and whatever they talk about. But anyway, so that's the sign that's in front of that school. So it says unmarked graves containing the remains of 215 indigenous children have been discovered on the grounds of a former residential school in the interior of southern British Columbia. The grim discovery at the former school near the town of Kamloops was announced late on Thursday by the I'm going to say this wrong. Tk'emlúps Tesekwe'pum. That's the tribe. I'm messing it up.
What you said.
People after the site was examined by a team using ground-penetrating radar. We had a knowing in our community that we were able to verify. To our knowledge, these missing children are undocumented deaths. So this wasn't stuff that was reported, right? Said Roseanne Cashmere, chief of, I'm not going to say it again because it's hard to say, of that tribe. Some of the remains belong to children as young as 3 years old, but the causes and timing of their deaths are not yet known. At this time, we have more questions than answers, said Casimir. The Kamloops Indian Residential School was established in 1890 under the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church. Of the Roman Catholic Church. Bishop a few months back was talking about how Christianity was responsible for and what drove all the slave trade, the modern slave trade, and all that stuff. And it's Christianity that's at the core of this stuff. Even with politics, that's a device that stems from them.
Right.
Because they have their whole structure and their hierarchy, because Catholicism is the chief. That's the father of all the Christian denominations.
Right. See, what you're bringing on now is one of the reasons why we have to conduct the show the way we conduct it. Because you think Christianity is all hugs and kisses.
Right.
You think that Edomite, surfer-looking, drug addict-looking dude is your savior.
Yep. Exactly. Right on it. So, Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church, their leadership, that's what those schools were under.
Lego.
Israel is back.
We back.
Israel is back.
We
got
back.
The nations running scared because Israel is back. All eyes on us because we keeping them laws. When the Lord return, Babylon will fall. Precepts solid. We got them on lock. God's chosen people with Christ as our rock. Israel is back.
We back.
Israel is back.
We back.
You heathen, get ready for our whip to crack.
Damn.